had no problem with the saying I love you. I don't know why, but when it got to approve of myself just as you are, yes, it was history. I couldn't even say it out loud.
Okay. So you have lots of things that you don't accept about yourself at the moment.
Apparently so.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, this goes straight into the criticism thing. You see, when you're dealing with criticism and you criticize yourself, all you do is stay stuck. It keeps you in the place. If you think about it, the things you're criticizing yourself for now are the same things that you criticized yourself for years, right? Same stuff. Well, when were we going to learn that it doesn't work? It doesn't work to criticize ourselves if we're going to change. That doesn't work at all. So let's try another tactic. Let's approve of ourselves as we are right here and right now, so that we can then bring out the best in ourselves. You know, if you think of a little child and you start yelling and screaming and criticizing it and telling how awful it is, that child is going to shrivel and will either run around with tantrums or will be very, very quiet. And you're never going to know what that child could be like. But if you love that child and praise it and tell it how wonderful it is and how perfect it is right at that moment, then that child will blossom. And the stuff that can come out of that child will be just incredible. And it's the same way with ourselves. The things that you probably don't like about yourself right now are things that, patterns that you've created to deal with something. But if you come from a space of loving and approving of yourself, then you're going to find more positive ways to fulfill those needs. When you love who you are, you automatically bring out the best in yourself. Now, I'm not saying we become better people, because lots of people talk about that. They say, oh, I want to become a better person. And I always say, well, don't say that, because that's implying that you're not good enough. And the very thing we want to overcome is this not good enough feeling. We want to really acknowledge how wonderful we are. And it doesn't matter. Remember, when you were a tiny child, you wanted to be loved and accepted exactly as you were. Maybe you were scared, maybe you were skinny, maybe you were overweight, maybe you weren't as bright as your brother or the person across the street, and you didn't want to be compared with that. You just wanted to be loved and accepted. And it's the same thing we want now. And I guarantee, if you will be willing to begin to love and approve of yourself as you are, a lot of negative stuff is just going to disappear from you, because you won't need it anymore. But see, if we're critical to ourselves, then we have to have things to criticize so we can keep the critical pattern going. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Who else? Yes, right here.
I've done a lot of work on myself, and I feel like every area of my life is starting to really take off.
Wonderful.
And I find
that's what happens when you work on yourself.
A lot of fear is coming up, because I feel like nuns used to tell me when I was growing up that the more I suffered, that the better God would love me.
Yes, the more pure
and
you'd be, or
I heard a lot
holy.
from my family that the good die young. So a lot of fears about, I have
so you need
no
to
reason
suffer
to
and die young? Is
yeah,
that,
if I get it all, I'll have to suffer and die young. So
okay.
I keep myself from getting it.
What do you get if you suffer and you die young?
I don't know. I guess I feel like somehow...
let's follow this, because it's important. If you suffer and you die young, what do you get?
Safety, and somehow I'm protected from... God is protecting me somehow, I feel like. I mean, I feel like I'll get to go to heaven.
You get to go to heaven. Okay. Do you think you could get there some other way?
I hope so.
You know, one of the things we have to remember is that many people tell people negative things in order to manipulate them. They lay guilt on people because it's the easiest way to manipulate you. And if somebody is trying to lay guilt on you, ask yourself, what is it they want? Why are they doing this? What is it they want? Instead of you going into, oh, yes, I'm guilty, I'm terrible, say, what is it they want? And do you really want to give them what they want, or you don't? Now, when you come, lots of parents do this with children because they find it real easy. They probably were raised in a family where they were manipulated by guilt, and they tell people things that, that make them feel less than. And churches are real good at that. Because you see, you don't live in the church usually, so they only get you a little while. So they have to give you some heavy numbers that'll keep you in line. And many, many churches do that. But you're not a little child at the moment who needs to be kept in line. You are a grown-up adult, and you have your own mind, and you can figure out what you want to believe. What do you choose to believe? And if you want to believe that, you can, but it seems very limiting to me. So the 3-year-old had to accept that, but the adult doesn't have to. So I would say write those two things down. And then when you have time, look at those and say, what do I want to turn those into? How would I like to change that? What would I like that to really be? Because every negative message that you have, you can turn into something positive for yourself. But it's good. You see that when you look in the mirror. It comes up. All right. Okay. Those are good ones. Yes, there was the gentleman right here, and we'll do this, and then.
I discovered that I was feeling vulnerable, that there was a feeling of being fragile about loving myself. Mm-hmm. And I think it had something to do with I'm so used to feeling not loving myself.
Yes, it would. It would be a very fragile thing. You know what it's like when you pick up a newborn baby, and especially if you've never done it before, you look at this thing and you think, oh, I'm going to drop it. It's so fragile. You don't know what to do, and you want to sort of put it in your arms, and you don't know how to do it because how do you hold the head? And it's the same thing. It's like you have a new baby. And think of it that way, and just, it's a wonderful thing to nurture. Now, if you take that new baby and you drop it, that's probably the end of the baby. But if you hold the baby in any way you can and just nurture it and love it, that baby will grow into something really wonderful. So that's nice. You're at a point where you're just beginning. Got something new to love. And you know how it is when you fall in love with somebody and how wonderful it is and your heart feels so good. Well, when you get that going with yourself, it's the most incredible thing, because other people can leave you, but you don't leave yourself. So many people fight loving themselves, and it's the one thing that's so incredible. Dr. Bernard Siegel, I quote him all the time. He says, love heals. Love is the most powerful known stimulant of the immune system. Love is the big healer. When we can really get down to loving who we are, our life changes, and it's amazing the diseases we don't need. We just don't need them anymore. See, we need dis-ease when we're into punishing ourselves. But when we love who we are, we don't do that. So that's what we need to work on. And what we're looking at today really is the barriers that are in the way. But remember, they're only thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. That's what we're working with. We're working with looking at what is there, realizing that it's a thought, and realizing that it can be changed. Now, resentment. Let's talk about resentment a little bit. It's a biggie for many of us. Resentment is when, anger is fine. Anger is a normal, natural emotion. Babies have it all the time, and you know it when they're angry. But 5 minutes later, they can be totally out of it, and their smile can light up a room because they're in the now. They do it, they express it, they get it over with. Too many of us were raised in families where we weren't allowed to be angry. Anger was not acceptable, except maybe in one person. And so we swallow it down, and swallowed anger becomes resentment. And resentment can lodge in different places in the body, and it literally seethes and eats away at the body and becomes tumors and fears. It becomes tumors and cancers. Cancer and tumors really come from just resentment that is held for a long time, and it eats away at the body. Again, we have to realize that we are the ones that are holding on to it. Nobody else is involved at all. It's something about running the old movie in our mind over and over and over again. And if we want to be free from it, if we want to get out of it, then what we need to do is to go beyond it. But remember again, resentment is only a thought, and a thought can be changed. We think so many things are solid and we have to have them forever, but we're only dealing with a thought, and this thought can be changed. So many people ask me about how to love yourself. How do you love yourself, Louise? Because I talk about it all the time. So I made a list of how to love yourself, and it's even in poster and postcard form now. But number one on that list of how to love yourself is to stop all criticism. Just stop it, now and forevermore. And make a vow to yourself that you're going to do your very best from now on to stop criticizing, number one, you, and then other people. It'll be a lot easier to stop criticizing other people when you stop criticizing yourself.